So think back to the height of the COVID-19 pandemic for a second. It was, this massive global biological shutdown.
Right. Everyone was just completely isolated.
Exactly. But there was this window in Japan that, honestly, it completely blew my mind when I read about it. The psychological toll of that isolation got so bad that suicide rates actually pushed higher than the death toll from the virus itself.
Wow. I mean, just let that sink in for a minute.
Right. A literal biological pathogen is sweeping the globe. But in one of the most highly developed tech-forward nations on Earth, the sheer weight of hopelessness and anxiety was actually hitting harder.
It's terrifying. And,
Yeah.
it really asks the question, why is the modern mind so fragile right now? Especially when our physical safety is, well, higher than it's ever been in human history.
Exactly. And that exact paradox is the foundation for today's deep dive. We are digging into the framework of Osman, who you probably know online as the blind Muslim yogi.
Yeah, and we really need to set the stage with Osman's background because, I mean, it is a fascinating mix of ancient Eastern methodology and very hard biological science.
Totally. So right off the bat, Osman is a bioenergy healer at the master level, and he uses telepathic healing capabilities based on the principles of quantum entanglement.
Which sounds intense, but he specializes in some incredibly serious stuff, like critical care, recovery, and terminal illnesses.
Yeah, he's been doing this healing work along with advanced yoga and meditation for 50 years, 50
Yeah.
years. He even had his first samadhi experience, which is like this ultimate state of cognitive unity in yoga when he was only 19.
That's just wild. And he studied everywhere, right? The Far East, the Middle East, the West.
Yeah, extensively. And at certain points in his life, his practice regimen was up to 18 hours a day. Even now, he still does 8 to 10 hours a day just to, as he puts it, sharpen the sword.
Right, which explains his crazy high success rates with serious medical cases. It's also why his private one-on-one energy healing consultations are, well, they're premium. They are not inexpensive.
Definitely. And this is a massive disclaimer that he always leads with. His services are totally complementary. They are not a replacement for standard medical treatments.
Exactly. It's an integrative approach. He's there to enhance what the medical field might be missing, not replace your doctor.
Right. And there's another really critical piece of context about Osman that we need to mention before we get into his toolkit. He became permanently blind in May of 2023.
Yeah, and that's important because when you listen to his materials, he uses all these incredibly vivid visual descriptions and metaphors.
Which might confuse people at first, but he explains that he lived with full eyesight as a normal person for his entire life right up until May 2023. So that's how his brain still processes and explains things.
Makes total sense. And, while his premium energy healing is paid, his main mission is actually totally accessible. He wants to simplify these ancient sciences so anyone can use them.
Right, he doesn't withhold anything. He offers extensive advice and techniques completely for free on his YouTube channel. He does have a Patreon for paid live daily video lessons and group sessions, but all the core info is out there for free.
Which is awesome. He wants to help revive this lost ancient science to improve, every part of life, health, peace of mind, relationships, finances.
Yeah, and today we're zeroing in on his free toolkit for everyday depression and loneliness. And quick note for the listener, we are going to be referencing his free 5-minute yoga and meditation program a lot today.
Oh, yeah, the one you can download from his website, yogawellness786.com.
Exactly. Just a heads up, he used to have a $5 anxiety fix promotion, but that's over, so don't go looking for it. Just grab the free 5-minute program at yogawellness786.com.
Perfect. So where does Osman actually start with all of this?
He starts by looking at the trap we're all stuck in. He calls it the beta state of mind. And this concept of the beta brain is just everywhere right now.
Oh, totally. You hear it on all the top performance shows.
Yeah. Like, I was listening to Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO, and he had Mo Gaudat on, the former chief business officer at Google X. And Mo was breaking down his happiness equation, right?
All right. I remember that one.
He basically said our constant analytical mind, that default mode of trying to solve every problem, completely sabotages our baseline happiness.
Yep. And Bartlett also had Johan Hari on that same show talking about his book, Stolen Focus.
Yeah.
He was explaining how our hypervigilant, fragmented attention is just destroying our psychological resilience.
Exactly. And then you look at Bartlett's episode with Dr. Tara Swart talking about neuroplasticity. She pointed out that sitting in that stressed state literally wires your brain for more anxiety. That whole triad of episodes from Diary of a CEO perfectly describes Osman's beta state.
It really does, because from a neurological standpoint, beta waves, which are roughly 14 to 30 hertz, are the frequency of active waking thought. It's logic. It's problem solving.
Right. And Osmond isn't saying beta is evil, like you need it to survive.
Of course.
Yeah.
But the problem is we are locked in this high-amplitude beta state almost 24/7. The mind is just aggressively analyzing the past and running these catastrophic simulations of the future.
And Osmond points out something so true. He says 80% of the things you worry about happening tomorrow will never actually happen.
It's like having a web browser open with 100 tabs.
Oh, yeah, and 80 of those tabs are playing warning sirens for emergencies that just don't exist. You're burning out your CPU for nothing.
Exactly. But, to play devil's advocate here, if you listen to the Huberman Lab with Professor Andrew Huberman, he talks a lot about sympathetic arousal.
Right, the whole limbic friction concept.
Yeah. In his episode on dopamine with Dr. Anna Lemke, and even his solo episodes on motivation, Huberman points out that you need that friction, that epinephrine release to actually get off the couch and get things done.
So you could argue that this beta state is just the price of admission for modern productivity, right?
You could, but that mixes up healthy acute stress with chronic maladaptive load. Huberman also talks to Dr. Jack Feldman about respiration and arousal, showing that the key is flexibility.
So it's about being able to turn it off.
Exactly. In a healthy system, you stress out to meet a challenge, and then you quickly return to a calm baseline. What Osmond is seeing and what clinical data backs up is that our neurological brakes are totally shot.
We're just stuck on the gas pedal.
Yep. And the brain uses 20% of the body's energy. If you're stuck in high beta, you're constantly pumping cortisol, it exhausts your adrenal system and leaves you feeling completely depleted.
And that depletion is what we call everyday depression. It makes so much sense. So how does Osmond say we fix this software glitch?
Well, he says before you touch the software, you have to plug in the hardware. And for him, the ultimate biological anchor is sleep.
Yes, he is hardcore about this. He strives for 9 hours himself and recommends a strict 7 to 9 hours for everyone.
He completely rejects that whole hustle culture idea that sleeping is a waste of time. And he bases this on epigenetics, specifically the study of telomeres.
Which is fascinating. If you listen to the School of Greatness podcast with Lewis Howes, he actually did an amazing episode with Dr. Matthew Walker, the sleep researcher.
Oh, that episode is terrifying.
It really is. Walker explained how telomeres are like those little plastic caps on the ends of your shoelaces, but for your DNA. They keep your chromosomes from fraying.
Right. And Lewis Howes also had an episode with Dr. Joe Dispenza talking about how the body heals in these deep states of rest. When you don't sleep, you interrupt all of that.
Exactly. And Lewis even interviewed Tony Robbins, who talked about state changes. But even Tony acknowledges that without the physical baseline, your psychology crashes.
And Osmond's point ties right into all of that. He notes that getting less than 7 hours of sleep actively accelerates the shortening of those telomeres.
So you are literally aging your cells faster. You're inviting chronic ailments and a shorter lifespan just to stay up late worrying in a beta state.
Exactly. The brain needs that sleep to clear out neurotoxic waste. If you skip it, you are trading the physical structure of your brain for some extra hours of anxiety.
What I love is how Osmond describes his own sleep. He says he sleeps like a baby. He doesn't even remember his head hitting the pillow, and he wakes up fully rested hours before sunrise.
Which is the ultimate proof that his nervous system is flexible. He knows how to close those mental browser tabs.
Yeah, he talks about just waking up and marveling at the sound of birds chirping, which reminds me of the Mel Robbins podcast.
Oh, she talks about morning dread all the time.
Yes. Mel Robbins did this incredible solo episode on how the way you wake up sets your whole neurological tone for the day. And then she had Dr. Russell Kennedy on to talk about healing somatic anxiety.
Right, because for most people, the second they wake up, their cortisol spikes and instantly attaches to all their worries.
Exactly. And Mel also interviewed Dr. Robert Waldinger about the Harvard Happiness Study, touching on how that chronic loneliness and dread just eats away at you. But Osmond wakes up to the birds. He feels totally safe.
So the big question for you, the listener, is, are you waking up to the birds? Or are you immediately thrust back into those 80 open browser tabs?
Such a good question. So, assuming you're committed to getting your 7 to 9 hours, how do you actively shift that waking frequency? This brings us to Osmond's first pillar, movement, specifically Hatha Yoga.
And this is where that free protocol comes in. Osmond says just practicing simple Hatha Yoga postures can lift feelings of depression from the very first day.
Yeah, and that 5-minute program at yogawellness786.com can literally be done in bed.
which is brilliant from a psychological perspective.
Totally. When you're depressed, your executive function is just fried. If a doctor says, hey, go drive to a 90-minute yoga class, it's not going to happen. There's too much friction.
But doing it in your bed, you're taking the exact environment where you feel stuck and turning it into a healing space.
It's so smart. And he says doing this for just 20 to 30 minutes a day shifts your brain into the alpha frequency.
Right, the alpha state,
Yeah.
which Osman calls the ideal state for making decisions and handling life.
Let's break that down because alpha sits between 8 and 13 hertz, right? It's that state of wakeful relaxation.
Exactly. Biologically, getting into alpha means the communication loop between your thalamus and your cortex has synced up and slowed down. Your parasympathetic tone goes up, your digestion improves, your heart rate stabilizes.
But the bottom-up intervention.
Yes. Most therapy is top-down, trying to think your way out of a problem. Hatha yoga uses the body to send signals up the vagus nerve to tell the brainstem, hey, we're safe.
And this connects to such a deep lineage. If you look at Paramahansa Yogananda's autobiography of a yogi, or the work of Swami Sivananda from the Divine Life Society, the physical postures were never about fitness.
Right, they were strictly tools to stabilize the nervous system so it could handle higher states of energy without freaking out.
Exactly. Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna talked about this all the time. You have to purify and strengthen the physical vessel before you can really quiet the mind.
And we see this ancient wisdom proving out in modern science constantly now.
Oh, all the time. Just look at the Ranveer show. Ranveer Alabadia goes deep into this. He had Abhijit Shavda on to discuss how ancient Indian sciences basically predicted modern physics and neurology.
Yep. And Ranveer also interviewed Sadhguru about the mechanics of yoga and had a Swami guest on explaining how the nadis, the energy channels, map perfectly onto the modern autonomic nervous system.
It's all connected, and Osman has this amazing story from his childhood. He said even when he only practiced yoga once or twice a week, people around him noticed this automatic calmness. He had this unusual ability to handle negative situations.
That's the neuroplastic buffer of the alpha state. When you visit alpha regularly, you increase the GABA receptors in your brain, which puts the brakes on overexcitement.
So when you get a stressful email, you don't instantly spike into a beta panic. You actually have a biochemical shield.
Exactly. But movement is only the first part. Once the nervous system is settled, Osman moves to the second pillar, which requires no movement at all: stillness.
The mindfulness antidote. And this is where Osman drops a super motivating metric. He says practicing mindfulness for just 7 to 20 minutes a day over a 6 to 8 week period leads to a 70% increase in endocannabinoids in 80% of people.
70%. That is massive.
It really is. So let's talk about the endocannabinoid system, because we hear about it a lot with cannabis, but this is an internal pharmacy, right?
Yeah, it's an endogenous system, meaning your body makes it naturally. And it's wild because most neurotransmitters travel forward across the synapse.
Yeah.
But endocannabinoids travel backward.
Wait, backward?
Yeah, retrograde signaling. So if a neuron is freaking out and firing too much anxiety signal, the receiving neuron creates endocannabinoids and sends them backward to say, hey, we have too much signal, shut it down.
It's a literal negative feedback loop for stress.
Exactly. It's the master regulator. And the main molecule is anandamide, which literally comes from the Sanskrit word ananda, meaning bliss.
Wow. So sitting in stillness for just 7 minutes a day basically boots up this bliss factory in your brain.
Yep. But I know what some people are thinking. 7 minutes seems almost too easy, right?
Yeah. Like, if you listen to Rainn Wilson's Soul Boom podcast, he talks to people doing intense, grueling spiritual work. Like, he had Richard Rohr on talking about deep Christian mysticism and contemplation.
Right. And Rainn also interviewed Reza Aslan about Islamic mysticism and Donald Hoffman about the actual nature of reality.
Yeah.
These are heavy, hours-long practices.
So how does a 7-minute microdose of stillness counteract 16 hours of doom scrolling and beta anxiety?
It works because of neuroplasticity. Neurons that fire together wire together. 7 minutes won't erase the day instantly, but doing it daily for 8 weeks actively rebuilds the circuits in your prefrontal cortex. It forces your brain to create more receptors for that bliss molecule.
It's like lifting weights. The workout is short, but the muscle builds over the next few days.
Exactly. And Osman is super practical about how you do this. You don't need a perfect lotus pose. Just sit on your couch, stop analyzing your timeline, and watch your breath.
But he's totally honest about how hard that is at first. He admits your mind will jump.
Oh, the default mode network will absolutely fight you. The second you get quiet, the anxiety spikes.
which is something Rick Archer talks about a lot on his podcast, Buddha at the Gas Pump.
Oh, yeah, that's a great show for this stuff.
Yeah, Rick had Dr. Bonnie Greenwell on, and they talked extensively about how spiritual awakenings and intense meditation can actually agitate your nervous system at first.
Right, and they've discussed the historical accounts of Gopi Krishna, who went through massive physiological upheaval
Huh.
because his nervous system wasn't ready for the stillness.
Even Adyashanti talked about that on Rick's show. Sudden stillness can feel destabilizing. So Osman has a hack for this from his early days.
Yes.
Use guided meditation audios.
Yes, start with just 10 minutes.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
If your beta mind is like a guard dog barking at every thought, the guided audio gives the dog a bone to chew on.
Exactly. You give the analytical mind a job, just listen to the voice.
Yeah.
And that distracts it enough for your deeper nervous system to finally let its guard down.
But, even with an audio guide, some people are so deep in trauma or anxiety that sitting physically still is just agonizing.
Yeah, the physiological arousal is just too high to sit on a couch.
And that's where Osman's framework is so adaptable. If stillness doesn't work today, he pivots to the third pillar, the action antidote, breathwork and forward motion.
This one is powerful. He claims that practicing this specific breathwork technique for just 10 minutes a day makes it nearly impossible to sustain long-term psychological problems.
That is a massive claim. But respiration really is the cheat code, isn't it?
It's the only system in the body that is completely automatic, but also completely under your conscious control. It's the bridge to the unconscious mind.
You see this on the Joe Rogan Experience all the time. Rogan had James Nestor on to talk about his book, Breath, which completely changed how people view breathing.
Oh, totally. And Rogan's episodes with Wim Hof, legendary. Wim proved you can literally fight off an endotoxin just by breathing differently.
Right. And Rogan even had Naval Ravikant on, who talked about using simple mindfulness and breath to just sit and be happy. It all comes back to the breath.
Because when you're anxious, your breathing gets shallow and fast. It tells your brain via the phrenic nerve that you are in danger.
But you can hijack that.
Exactly. And Osman highlights a specific protocol that Tony Robbins actually popularized in the West with his Get the Edge program.
Oh, I've tried this. It's intense. You get up, go for a walk, and for the first 5 minutes, you sync your breath with your steps.
Right. You breathe in 4 times through the nose, sniff, 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 right in rhythm with 4 steps. Then exhale 4 times through the mouth with the next 4 steps.
So what is actually happening in the body when we do that?
A few things. First, just walking forward creates what's called optic flow. Seeing objects pass by you actually quiets the amygdala, the fear center of the brain.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then the rhythmic breathing alters your carbon dioxide tolerance. By controlling the exhale, you manage CO2, which allows your blood to actually release more oxygen into your brain tissue.
So you're calming the fear center and heavily oxygenating the brain at the same time.
Exactly. And honestly, trying to coordinate a 4-part inhale and exhale with your footsteps takes so much working memory that your brain literally doesn't have the processing power left to worry about your to-do list.
It forces you into the present. And Osman adds that Tony Robbins trick of using positive incantations on the exhale.
Which takes advantage of that neuroplastic state.
Yeah.
You're physically clearing out the negative and planting a positive psychological anchor.
Osman says this combo can change a depressed state in just 10 to 20 seconds. It reminds me of the mind-body connection stuff Deepak Chopra is always talking about.
Yes, Chopra always emphasizes that your biology is a direct reflection of your conscious state. Change the breath, change the biology.
It's so practical. And that's what's so amazing about Osman. He has studied the deepest, most complex spiritual text for 50 years, practicing 18 hours a day, achieving samadhi. And what does he give us?
5 to 10-minute micro habits.
Exactly. It's an a la carte menu for your mental health. If your sleep is a mess, start with the 5-minute Hatha Yoga in bed from yogawellness786.com.
And if your mind won't shut up, use a 7-minute guided audio.
And if you're too agitated to sit, do the 4-in, 4-out walking breath work on your way to work. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. You just stack these tiny interventions.
It gives you your agency back. You don't have to be a victim of the beta state.
Exactly. So let's just recap the whole journey for the listener. We started with the global crisis of the beta brain, that hyper-aroused state that's burning all our energy on fake emergencies.
Then we laid the foundation, protecting our telomeres and our sanity with 7 to 9 hours of non-negotiable sleep.
And from there, we unpacked Osman's 3 pillars: movement to signal safety and trigger the alpha state, stillness to flood the brain with endocannabinoids,
And action, using rhythmic breathwork to physically force the nervous system to reset.
It's an incredible toolkit. And again, for anyone wanting to just start right now without overthinking it, go to yogawellness786.com, download the free 5-minute yoga and meditation program. It is perfectly designed by Osman to get you immediate relief with zero friction.
It really is the best starting point. But, before we wrap up, I think there's a really provocative biological truth we need to leave the listener with today.
Oh, absolutely. Lay it on them.
We spend our entire lives trying to think our way out of our suffering. We use our beta brain to analyze our anxiety, basically trying to use the mind to fix the mind.
Mm-hmm.
But based on the vagus nerve, the endocannabinoids, the respiratory, what if the mind is literally incapable of fixing itself without the active participation of the body?
Oh, wow. So you're saying the key to unlocking your mental prison isn't a better thought.
Exactly. It's a deliberate breath and a conscious movement.
That completely flips the script on how we handle mental health. The mind doesn't lead the body out of depression. The body leads the mind out.
Spot on.
I love that. I think that's the perfect place to end this deep dive. You have the science, you have the podcast to explore, and you have Osman's protocols.
So take a deep breath.
Close a few of those browser tabs and take control of your alpha state today. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you on the next one.